students, welcome back. I'm here again to teach you on how we will going to determine the numbers or variables which considered as perfect squares. Before we start, I would like to remind you that I will going to use Taglish language to understand every content of my discussion. So let's begin. So my discussion is all about perfect square numbers and variables. So in this video, you will going to determine the numbers and variables which can be considered as perfect square. So perfect square numbers. So the square of a number is that number times itself. So when we say square of a number, so when you square the number, ibig sabihin nun, you are going to multiply the number twice. So let's say for example, 2 times 2. So you are going to get 4. So 2 square is always 4. So meaning 4 is a perfect square. Bakit? Kasi meron siyang factor na 2 na kapag minultiply mo sa sarili niya na 2, you will get 4. So 4 now is a perfect square. Later on, I will give you more examples. So these are the examples. Let's say for example 9. Let us try to determine if 9 is a perfect square. So let's think a factor that can be multiplied by itself. Let's say isip tayo ng number na kapag minultiply natin sa sarili niya, makakakuha tayo ng 9. So what is it? That is 3. So meaning, may factor siya, may isa siyang factor na kapag minultiply niya sa sarili niya, you will get 9, and that is 3. So 3 times 3, you will get 9. So meaning, how can you write it? It's 3 squared. So meaning, 9 is a perfect square. Another, 100. Is 100 a perfect square number? Let's think. Isip tayo ng isang factor na kapag minultiply niya sa sarili niya, you will get 100. And what is it? 10. Very good. So 10 times 10 is equal to 100. Or it can be written as 10 squared. Next one, 576. Ano kayang number na kapag minultiply niya sa sarili niya, you will get 576? Got it. It's 24. So 24 times 24, you will get 576. Or you can write as 24 squared. So did you get it? Yes, of course. Now, squaring is an inverse of finding the square root. So kapag nag-i-square tayo ng isang number, nagmumultiply or minumultiply niya yung sarili niya sa sarili niya. So, kanina, yung ginawa natin kanina, ganon ang squaring. But what will be the inverse of squaring? That is the inverse. So, kapag di-reverse mo sa squaring, that is the finding the square root. Now, finding the square root. How we will going to extract a square root of 121? So, let us find the square root of 121. And what is it? 11 times 11. So, kasi iyan ang number na kapag minultiply mo sa sarili niya, you will get 121. So, meaning, the square root of 121 is 11. Next, 625. Let us get the square root of 625. Anong number na kapag multiply natin sa sarili niya, you will get 625? And that is 25. So 25 times 25, you will get 625. And what is the square root of 625? It's 25. Correct. Let us check if the numbers are perfect square. Now let us test yourself if you really understand what perfect squares are. Number 1, 25. Is 25 a perfect square? Correct. It's perfect square. And what will be the square root of 25? It's 5. Correct. Next, 10. Is 10 a perfect square? No, it is not a perfect square. Kasi wala naman siyang factor na kapag minultiply mo sa sarili niya, you will get 10. Next, 81. Is 81 a perfect square? Exactly. Why? Kasi meron siyang factor na kapag minultiply niyo sa sarili niya, you will get an 81. And what is the square root of 81? It's 9. Next, 48. Let us try or let us check if this number is a perfect square. Is 48 a perfect square? No. Wala siyang factor na kapag minultiply sa sarili niya, you will get 48. How about 36? Correct. So, 36 is a perfect square. And what will be the square root of 36? It is 6. Correct. Last, 64. Is 64 a perfect square? Yes. And what will be the square root of 64? It's 8. Correct. So, now, did you already understand the concept of perfect square numbers? Okay, no questions at all. Okay, let's move. Now, let us try to define what are perfect square variables. How we will going to determine the variables who considered as perfect square. So, these are the variables with an even exponent. So, napakadali. Kapag ang variable ay may even exponents or ang kanyang exponent ay divisible by 2, pwede siyang hatiin sa dalawa, meaning, ang variable na to ay perfect square. Example, x to the second power or x squared, correct. Bakit siya perfect square? Kasi yung kanyang exponent is even. And what is the exponent? 2, correct. Now, so how we are going to factor the x squared? So, meaning, hahatiin lang natin yung exponent niya na 2 sa dalawa. So, kapag hinati natin si 2 sa dalawa, merong tigi-isa. So, kaya ang sagot dyan is x times x. Or you can write as x squared. Next, x to the 8th power. Paano natin mahati ang x to the 8th power? Hatiin ang 8 sa dalawa. Ano ang sagot? Diba meron kang tiga-4? So, x to the 4th times x to the 4th. You will get x to the 4th to the squared power. Next, x to the 22nd power. Is this a perfect square? Yes, kasi ang kanyang exponent ay even. Now, hatiin natin sa dalawa ang 22. 22 divided by 2, you will get 11. So, x to the 11th power times x to the 11th power, you will get x to the 22nd power. So, did you get it? Okay, so let us find the square root of each variables. 8 to the 14th power. Check if it is a perfect square. Is the variable has an even exponent? Yes, because 14 is an even exponent. So, kapag even si 14, mahati natin siya sa dalawa. And what is 14 divided by 2? It is 7. That's why you will get the square root of 8 to the 14. Ang sagot is 8 to the 7 power. Saan nakuha si 7? Kasi nga, dinivide natin si 14 sa 2. That's why you get it 8 to the 7. Next, y to the 26th power. How are we going to get the square root of y to the 26th power? 26 divided by 2. And what you will going to get? It's 13. So, meaning, the answer here is 26 divided by 2. Hatiin sa dalawa ang 26. That is 13. So, ang exponent ni y is 13. So, the final answer is y to the 13th power. Next, let's make it difficult. How about if you have a constant, a variable with an even exponent? How are we going to get the square root? Kapag naghalo-halo na, may number na siya, meron na siyang variable na may exponent. Yung kanina kasi is just a simple exponent na may variable na may exponent. Yung isa naman is just a number. How about if we were going to combine the two? How can we get the square root step by step? So all you have to do, you separate the number from the variable. So what is the square root? So we have the square root of 4, and then paghiwalay natin, magkakaroon tayo ng the square root of b to the 28th power. Anyway, it's just the same lang. Pinapakita ko lang kung paano isosolve ng detailed. Now, let's think about of what is the square root of 4. Isip tayo ng factor or number na kapag minultiply sa sarili niya, you will get 4. Of course, that is 2, correct? How about the square root of b to the 28th power? Of course, the exponent will be divided by 2. Hahatiin sa dalawa si 28. And what will be the answer? 28 divided by 2. It's what? 14. So, meaning the exponent of variable b is now 14. Now, the question is, what is now the square root of 4b to the 28th power? Yung dalawang sagot na nakuha natin sa ilalim, we will just combine. So, meaning, the square root is 2b to the 14th power. Matatanggal na nun yung sign, the radical sign. So, the final answer is 2b to the 14th power. Next, how about if we were going to have a square root of 25z to the 40th power? Of course, ang gagawin natin, we are going to separate the two, number and also the variable. So, the square root of 25, you will get 5. And then, the square root of z to the 40th power, you will get 20. So, bakit 20 ang exponent ni z? Kasi, lagi nating dinidivide sa 2 ang exponent. So, if we will combine the two, the answer is 5z to the 20th power.
I hope you learned a lot from my video. Keep watching and stay tuned!